This year has been a particularly traumatic year when it comes to gun violence in our city. Toronto police are currently in the midst of a 2-month crackdown on guns and gangs. That initiative is set to wrap up at the end of this month. But many feel that police crackdowns are just a band-aid solution to an ever-growing problem. Well, today I got the perspective of an American in Toronto. I spoke to documentary filmmaker Rico King, who's looked at guns and gangs in U.S. cities.
There have been 96 homicides. More than
King is currently putting a lens on the impact of guns and gangs in Toronto. He says in the time he's been here, he's already seen the problem worsen. But he's hoping his documentary will help offer a different perspective.
This here's your act right. If you ain't acting right, you're dying tonight.
The filmmaker has documented gang violence and its impact on communities in Baltimore and Houston. Why our city?
Well, I feel like nobody knows it exists over here. You know, south of the border, you think about Canada, the reputation of Toronto is amazing, and I feel like it's misrepresented. You know, some of the videos you see, you'll think it's like somewhere in Detroit or Baltimore or something like that, but it's right here in Toronto in Canada.
Guns should be silenced! No more violence!
My whole goal in film is to give voice to the voiceless. So I felt like, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to help the city of Toronto and something outside of the norm.
King has spent almost a year in Toronto interviewing people from all sides, victims, family members, gang members, convicted felons, and police. He says there's a desperate need to fix the relationship between police and community members, and adds that gun violence should be treated from a mental health perspective.
It's a lot of trauma in these streets. From a young age, I've interviewed people from who've lived in Jane and Finch, Rexdale, Regent Park, Scarborough from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. These people are walking around with gunshot wounds, problems, revenge, anger, confusion. Hard to be a productive citizen going through all that.
As of Tuesday, there have been at least 30 deaths this year due to gun violence in Toronto. In Baltimore, a city of just over 600,000, there have been more than 200. King says though the numbers differ, the human impact remains the same.
It's the exact same story. You know, I could piece the documentaries and edit the Houston ones and the Baltimore ones to the Toronto ones. The parents are going through the same exact pain. The kids are going through the same exact trauma. I find it just almost the exact same, but just different numbers. And hopefully Toronto won't get to a point where the numbers are reflecting the same.
King plans on spending another year in Toronto with the aim of releasing the documentary in the fall of 2020.